And last presentation of the evening is going to be done by Mertice, who everyone knows because not only is she one of our newer board members, but she is an honoree from 2004. Yes.
Good evening. It's a little odd. I usually sit back and I get to watch. Now I actually am on the other side. I have the pleasure of introducing Chris Hernandez. Chris is a first-generation American and native of San Jose, and he holds a BS in Justice Studies with a Criminology concentration from San Jose State University. Once a gang-involved youth, he now leads a youth intervention program for the city of San Jose. He's dedicated to gang intervention. Some of the things that Chris shared with me is that he actually graduated from San Jose State in 2020, and it was Mr. Tinoco who was key in his pursuit of higher education. It was because of him that he actually applied to college. It was because Mr. Tinoco kept insisting that that's what he does. He took, as Chris said, he took a step to believe in him. And that's what really transformed his life. As formerly a gang-involved youth, he said that he now is working for the city of San Jose. He supervises about 25 mentors who also help students who are in middle school and high school in the San Jose area. He says Mr. Tinoco really changed the trajectory, and he now has a plan. I overheard him saying his plan is to become the superintendent in the city, right? I'm assuming that's what he's saying. So that's his goal. Let's hope he can get there, right? Right? Chris. Oh, I'd be remiss. I should mention his wife. If you haven't had a chance to have a conversation with Leslie, his wife, she is also here with him. She is a fascinating woman, doing a lot of marvelous things in the community. Chris, you got a good one.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I was really hoping to go first, get it done with. I do a lot of public speaking in the line of work that I do, but I always get nervous when it talks about my background, right? When I get anxious, my heart starts racing because it's a delicate subject for myself, right? And you'll see why later in the speech. But I'm really happy to be able to nominate my teacher, Tinoco, right? Similar to our other nominees, he did change my life. He changed the trajectory of my life. As you heard, I was a gang-involved youth. At a young age, 12 to 13 years old, I was already hanging out in the neighborhood, justice involved, and just being kicked out of middle schools left and right. And that followed through my high school year, right? But I met Tinoco his first year teaching at Yerba Buena High School as the English teacher for freshmen. Of course, I was one of his freshmen, right? I remember I was his third period class. And unfortunately for Tinoco, he not only had me, but he had like 6 other of my homies in that class. So, they definitely gave him a run for his money in that class. Like who scheduled this? It was insane. But the Tinoco, man, he definitely did go above and beyond for us, right? His teaching method was a bit different from other educators, where all they did was lecture and just give you a packet and do your thing, right? What he would do is he will lecture, let you do your thing, but he will go table to table to engage with you, right? And I feel like he did this on purpose. He put me and all my homies in the same desk, right in front of the class, and I noticed that he would put primary focus on us, right? Like, hey, what are you doing with this and that? Of course, we weren't doing nothing. He knew what, we had no book open. We didn't even have backpacks with us. Like, why are we here? But nonetheless, every day he would go up to us and talk to us, right? Like, hey, what are you guys doing? What's going on? And when he realized that he couldn't get through us through the class, he will ask about what's happening outside, right? Because he knew whatever we did outside trickled back onto our campus, right? So he wanted to know about what we did in the neighborhood and what was holding us back, right? So that was the first instance that I saw a difference in him. With the other educators, will put us back in the back of the class, just really didn't talk. Some of them didn't even give me the paperwork because they knew I wasn't going to do it. Tinoco straight just gave me the paperwork, and I did apologize to him. I was very disrespectful to him back when I was a teenager, when I was 13. You're 13, He would give me packets. He would give me, when the whole class was reading To Kill a Mockingbird, I was reading like a gang book that he gave me because he thought it would connect with my life, right? I remember he gave me one book called Always Running, about a kid, basically going through the lifestyle and so on. And I remember I tossed it. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, now thinking, I was like, my bad, Tinoco. Like, I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but like, school wasn't for me. I wasn't really, I was getting suspended left and right. Teachers telling me that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't doing nothing. My probation officer on me and stuff. And honestly, I come from an immigrant family where my parents worked 8 to 10. So not to say that they weren't there, but they weren't there, right? So that gave me all the opportunity for me to be out in the neighborhood, be on the streets, and so on. So for him to be there and just like go that extra mile that other adults in my life didn't, it's what really helped change my life, right? So similar to another nominator, there was 2 instances in my life that Tinoco helped me out with, right? The first time was my sophomore year. I got suspended for a gang fight that I was part of in my high school, and I was in the expulsion process. Tinoco did home visits for me to check up on me, see how I was doing, because he saw the condition of how the fight went, right? He knew that was going to trickle back outside. So he did home visits for me, and I think at that point is when he realized that I really didn't have any adult figure to watch over me. Like I said, no fault to my parents. They had to work 8, 10 to provide for me and my siblings. I come of a household of 6. I'm 7th in line. I'm the oldest. So we have a big family. So obviously they wouldn't be able to be there for me, or luckily now for my siblings, they are, right? They're situated in a better place, so they could be there more for them. But back then, I think that's when Tinoco realized, man, this kid really doesn't have anybody. Because when I opened the door, I was taking care of my little sisters, right? They were like, I was 13, so my sister was 8, and then my little brother was probably 3 at the time. And it was just us in a little trailer room, in a little trailer park, right? And he did a home visit one time. He asked me like, hey, we're taking a state test for math, English, and science, right? We need you to take, I think back then it was called the Casey exam or something like that. He's like, just check it out, do it. And I remember telling him, I'm like, why? Like, I got all Fs. My GPA was like at a 0 point something. Like, there was no point of me doing it, Tinoco. But he was like, just do it. What's the worst thing you're gonna do? You're not doing nothing now. And I was like, it's a little disrespectful, but okay. And but that's just how me and Tinoco had that relationship with, right? So I don't know why or how, but I went to go take the exam. Tinoco made it some way that I was able to take it in the front office, right, closed room and everything. So I was a menace to other students on campus, or however they want to put it. So I was locked in the room. I took the exam, and a few weeks later, or a month later, something going on, they give you the test results back, right, in the mail. My parents had no involvement in my education whatsoever, so they threw it in the trash by accident, right? Eventually, Tinoco found some way to be able to get a copy of it through the school or something, and it turns out for math and science, I exceeded the expectations, right? The threshold that we had for high school students. In English, not so much. I was right under it because I was an English language learner, so I was like in ELS classes and so on. So obviously that was a given. But really in math is where I skyrocketed. After that exam, I was able to be in the calculus. The class before that. Pre-cal, but it was different with trigonometry or something like that. Yeah, trigonometry class after that. So I was like, dang, after this exam, that was the first thing. So I was like, you know what, I could actually do something. Like, I should open a book sometime. I don't know. But that was the first instance where I knew that he was there to actually help me out. He was there not to give up on me like other adults did, right? They didn't even give up, and they just never believed in me. But he did, for some reason. And I didn't give him a reason. I'm telling you, I was very disrespectful to him. I went to his classroom high all the time. I didn't have a backpack. And if I did, it's because I had a weapon in it, you know? So I gave him no reason to believe in me, but he did. And that was the first instance that helped me out, right? Unfortunately, I did get expelled. I went from high school to high school because obviously with my affiliations, my background, no school wanted me to be on their campus. And if anybody's familiar with the east side of San Jose, they kind of already have campuses for certain gang-affiliated youth, and I didn't fit any of those campuses. So wherever school I went to, I was a target, right? So I ended up going to maybe 4 or 5 high schools before I got to my 4 high schools. I got to my 4th one, and then I got in a gang rumble yet again in that school, got kicked out of the district. And I was in limbo. I was like 3 months with no school, nothing going on for me. Like, you know, like school wasn't for me again. I just lost motivation whatsoever. And not going to school gave me all the time to be out with my friends in the neighborhood and everything. So that one time that I could truly say that my parents were there for me was there, right? Because my dad literally will get off work and go to the district and fight for me and put me back into school. So I do want to give a shout out for my pops for that time, right? Because he really did help me out there, knowing well that he will lose pay for that, right? And when you're a kid, you don't think about that type of things, right? I don't remember them struggling for rent, but I could sure as hell know now that he did, right? But he took weeks off for me to get back onto school. So eventually he went to the district. We had a court hearing because districts go through court hearings, having a kid come back onto the district. And I eventually got placed back into my original high school where Tinoco went. And somehow Tinoco either found out or he saw me on campus and reached out to me, right? He went, hey, you're back. Yeah, man, I'm back. Like, let's do this again. No backpack and everything, you know? But I remember him telling me, like, well, he only taught freshman and sophomore. I was a junior at that time, and he was like, well, I'm not going to be your teacher, but my door's always open. He always had an open door policy, right? That's another thing I noticed that was different. Well, all the teachers closed their doors during lunch and after school, his was wide open, right? And I was like, all right, cool. Like, you know, maybe I'll stop by here and there. And I didn't. My junior year, I was still going downhill, hanging out with my friends, getting involved with all sorts of things. And then eventually I started going to Tinoco's open door, time, and started talking to him. He started talking about college and stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm on probation. What are you talking about? But little by little, those conversations I had with him made me realize, okay, you know what, let me try again. Because, he's right. I did get a pretty high standards in that KZ exam. So let me try again. Little by little, started bringing up my grades. Those Fs came to Cs, to Bs, to As. By my senior year, I was taking like 0 to 7th period in cyber high so I could get the credits that I missed my freshman and sophomore year. So I was like all around busy during that time. I had no time to be out there in the neighborhood. But nevertheless, I did find time for paralegal because I was still out there during my senior year. And I was doing fairly well for myself, right? I was getting straight A's for my first semester. My second semester, I was also getting straight A's up until 3 months before graduation, where unfortunately, and this is why my voice gets cracky and I start mixing words, my stepbrother died. He was a victim of a drive-by shooting in our neighborhood. And I remember that was the worst time of my life, right? Someone that I would look up to, someone that was there for me. Like I said, my adult figures I had were none. But he was there, right? Whenever I would get jumped or whenever I was victimized, he was there, and then he just wasn't that night. That night, I remember I used to work on the side, like under the table type stuff. And I remember him texting me saying, hey, come to the neighborhood. We're going to get some tacos. Let's go eat. I'm like, nah, man, I'm tired. I got to go home. I got to do this homework. And I'm going to go to sleep. Next morning, I didn't even find out through my family. I found out through social media, right, that he was in the hospital with 2 gunshots, and it didn't look good, right? So I remember going to school, And I didn't think of anything, right? I remember Mom calling me. She said, sorry. And I said, for what? You know, me acting brand new. And she said, you know, and I just lost it. I started screaming. I said, I'm going to find out who did it, and I'm going to do what they did to him, or worse, you know? At this time, he hadn't passed away. He was still fighting for his life in the hospital. But I remember through the whole experience, through that, I had my wife with me. I had my other mentors with me. Everybody was checking up on me. Tinoco was checking in on me. He knew what happened because of my friends and my wife that told him, you know. And when I finally came back onto campus, he still had that open door policy, right? And he reached out to me. He said, if you ever need a room to be by yourself and just let it out, there's the room, you know. And I was like, okay. And well, this time I did need it, you know, for my benefit, right? So I ended up going to his classroom during lunch and after school times, just being there, just not doing anything, right? Because I knew it was better to be in that room than to be with my homies who were telling me that they had my back, whatever I wanted to do. So that's the second time that Tinoco changed my life. Because if it wasn't for that open door, that physical open door that he had, I probably wouldn't be standing here in front of y'all nominating him for this prestigious award, you know? And I tell him all the time, Tinoco, hey, once you open that door for me, like physically open that door and talking to me, man, that's really what helped me out. You know, when they say above and beyond, this man went above and beyond for me. You know, he helped me through that. He knew that if I talked about it, I was just gonna get frustrated and angry. So he talked about school. You know, how you doing in school? How's this? How's that? Where can I help you out with? What can I tutor you and stuff? And then we started talking about college again, right? And again, I remember getting frustrated because, like, you know, right now I'm really not thinking about school. Right now I'm thinking about who the heck did this to my brother. You know, at that point he did pass away. He was on life support for 2 days, and family decided to pull him off. And if he survived, he survived, but he fortunately didn't, right? So at that point, we were fixing the funerals and everything, and Tinoco was trying to keep me busy on education and college route, right? And I was like, I don't know, man, I don't know. Finally, the funeral happened and everything, and I was finally being able to focus back into school a little bit more, right? And he was having those consistent conversations about applying to college and so on, the waivers for it, right? He even went above and said that if the waivers didn't, if I didn't meet the criteria for the waivers, he'll pay for the college fees, right? I was, you know what, all right, let's do it. You know, what's the worst thing they could say? No? Like, okay, I didn't even want to go, you know? So I ended up applying to 5 CSUs and about 4 UCs, right? With the fee waiver, I did get fee waivers for them. And Tinoco helped me out with every application, right? I was in his classroom during lunch. We were filling out with the TA as well. And I was like, is this where I put my date of birth, where it says DOB? And then, you know, like, it's funny, but I really did ask that question. Like, like I don't know. And then I remember that was the first time, in a side note, that was the first time where I saw the disconnect from our counselors to our students, right? Because when I was filling out the paperwork, you know, FAFSA or DREAM Act, they were giving me the DREAM Act. And I'm filling it out because I know nothing. I'm filling it out, and then Tinoco was like, "No, you should be doing the FAFSA. You're from here, you know." And that's when I first noticed that, like, y'all really don't here to know who your students are. But you know, Tinoco did, surprisingly, right? So, anyways, he helped me out with those. I eventually did get accepted to my 5 CSUs that I applied for, and at least one UC accepted me. UC Irvine accepted me, right? But unfortunately, financial situations, you know, UC Irvine was a little too much for us, so I had to go locally. San Jose State paid for everything for me. All 4 years, I was paid. I didn't pay not a single dime for my college education. Part of being because of Tinoco's motivation and education, right? But through all that experience, Tinoco has been in every step of the way, right? Even when I wasn't on his campus, he was reaching out to my family, like, how's Chris doing? How's, you know, I telling other students on that campus, see how I'm doing. Because he had a teacher friend on that side called Mr. Tejada, and he was the same as Mr. Tinoco, same as him, right? They had like a group, like educator group, and then he reached out to him. He said, hey, keep an eye on my student Chris. Sure enough, I was in his class in geometry, right? So he kept in touch that way. But through the whole time, I was going through the whole, either I'm in it or I'm not. Either I go college bound or I go the gang route completely. You know, Tinoco was there trying to pull his way through, right? And I'm happy that he was able to do so, because if not, then I don't know where I'd be at. And I have conversations with my wife all the time. If I didn't have met the people I met throughout my life, I'd probably still be out there or 6 feet under, you know, to be honest with you. So again, if there's any doubt in my mind of an educator, if someone ever asked me who was an educator that really changed your life, that would be Tinoco, because I could definitely say he did go above and beyond for me, you know? And he made it so that when I do get asked now, what do you want to do in 5 years, you know, in 10 years? Like she shared, I have big things for myself, right? Whereas if you would have asked me in high school, I would have told you, I don't know. I don't know. Why? Because my neighborhood, that's all I could think about. You know, so I'm glad that I met Tinoco. I'm glad that he didn't give up on me, you know, and I'm glad that he continues to be my mentor even throughout right now. Just how they ask for tutoring sessions, I'd be calling him like, hey, does this sound good in an email? And he'd be telling me, right? So, you know, we have that friendship now with my kiddos, having play dates with his kid. And it's strangely enough, he lives a mile away from me. He lives on one street this way. I live on the other side of the park. So whenever I need to, I could just go stop by and say hello to a dear friend of mine and a close mentor that I've had. So, yeah, thank you.
And we do have a video that we're going to show to you of Mr. Tinoco. But Chris, since Mr. Tinoco is in Italy, since Chris lives only a mile away, Chris is going to take the award to give to him.
Are you ready to hear who has nominated you for the 2024 Carlson Outstanding Teachers of America Award?
I'm ready.
Chris Hernandez. This is the former student who has nominated you, so please, Mike, take it away.
Yeah, I just want to take it in for a minute. Thank you, Chris, for the honor. I'm thankful to call you a friend. I'm thankful that our children get to play together and that you and I have stayed connected all these years. When I think about where you were at when I first had you as a student, I'm so thankful that you let me in. What I mean by that is that you, despite the stuff that you were going through, the lived experiences that I hadn't experienced, you still let me into your life by showing up as an adult who wanted to just bear witness and to support you on the path, whatever that path was. And I know that there were a lot of challenges, sophomore, junior, senior years. But I'm thinking a lot about how my ability to be present for you, and then the other mentors who were in your life who helped you navigate the tragedy you experienced your senior year. I'm thankful that you allowed the kind of village to respond and support you. Because what it took, I think, is for us to be present, to bear witness, and to just let you know that you're loved. And I see that in what you're doing and the work that you're doing for the city of San Jose, supporting other human beings on their path, previously supporting kids like at-risk youth or at promise youth. So I'm just feeling so grateful, Chris, for this recognition. I want to thank Dr. Beverly Young, the board, for this honor. I feel very humbled. My heart's full. And what comes to mind for me is this quote by one of my inspirations, the late peace warrior Thich Nhat Hanh, who said, "The most precious gift we can offer others is our presence." And I think so much of teaching is about showing up and being present for the young people we are trusted to support and teach. Education, school is often future-oriented, and that's important. We want to support our kids in setting goals and reaching their goals. Equally important to me is being attuned to the present moment, which sometimes means we need to let go of the things that we had planned. We need to let go of the lesson plan, shift the stuff that we might really want to do in service of honoring the young people of where they're at now. So I know for me, a really important part of my practice and something that's taken a lot of time to really kind of hone and try to embody as a way of being that's attuned to the present moment, slowing down to the speed of breath, and really unlearning the kind of hustle and bustle culture that schools tend to perpetuate. And in that way, I think I feel more rich spiritually. I feel as though the teaching and learning are more abundant. It's less of having to cram as much as we can into a single class period, and really trying to let go of the attachment to letting go of attachment to immediate outcome, and really opening ourselves, surrendering to life as it is. Like, we can still have desires and still want goals, but I'm working on having more openness to how that journey unfolds. So again, I want to thank you, Chris. I want to thank everyone, past honorees, everyone who's in attendance. Thank you for just putting your hearts into teaching and making an impact on the lives of our young people. I'm honored to be alongside you, even if it's virtually, and my heart's very full. Thank you.